Sneak peek of episode 7 and 8. Here we go.
John, the success of this trip depends on Simon.
Simon.
Jesus gave her healing and joy, but he hasn't given that to me.
I won't be in your way for long.
Have faith, Simon.
Faith isn't my problem. I think I was a mistake.
That's episode 8.
What have we here? My friends.
Episode 7,
seem
setting up
upset.
the feeding of the
You
5,000.
want to dilute our
Nishan.
faith. Take your followers back west, where you belong.
We didn't come here to cause trouble.
Well, it would appear that trouble has found us.
Ooh, Philip's hurt.
What is stirring in your hearts
Feeding
in the
the
middle
5,000.
of such division and unrest is
Pharisees?
Father God being revealed to you. Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest.
We're out of food. They're out of food.
Can you bring me anything?
5 loaves of bread
And 2 fish.
This
Yeah.
feels familiar.
Thomas is
Let's
back.
eat.
Big climax of the feeding the 5,000. Ooh. Let's go back. Let's go back and watch that again. All right, so we'll break this down. So we hear this from Jesus here. He tells John that this is extremely important, that Simon is ready for this. This is really important because a lot of things that I'm expecting to see from episodes 7 and 8 coming up. Let's listen to what Jesus says here.
The success of this trip depends on Simon.
The success of this trip depends on Simon. Why would that be? I think there's going to be a very intentional focus on Simon during these last 2 episodes. Remember what I said about Eden during the last few episodes, right? She had this miscarriage. She's having this horrible thing that's happened to her, right? But it's not because of Eden. She's not the biblical character that we really, really, really care about, right? Even though she is a biblical character, we don't know much about her, right, as a person. So we don't even know her name, right? Her name isn't even Eden in Scripture. But we do know Simon Peter, right? And so Simon is the one that we actually care about. So Eden's hurt and her pain, yes, it's important to the show, but it's more important that we get this transfer of angst and anger and hurt to Simon, so that Simon begins to doubt a little bit, so that Simon begins to have these little issues that we see, coming up in these last 2 episodes. It's going to be really important that he is growing here. And I think there's going to be a catalyst moment where not only is he going to find that place where he can come back to Jesus and have that full faith in him again and trust and believe, but he's also, I think, going to have a transformational moment, which is going to be really cool. Here we see Eden with Salome, right? Zebedee's wife. Now we saw in the behind the scenes that there's actually a moment when Zebedee, Mary Magdalene, and Salome all come together and they go inside what I believe to be Eden's home in the behind the scenes. And so I think that might be this scene.
Healing and joy,
Yeah, it looks like Eden's here with Mary.
but he hasn't given that to me.
I won't
And then again, we see Atticus here. He's obviously scoping out something, possibly the feeding the 5,000. That probably makes sense here.
be in your way for long.
Have faith, Simon.
And then here, we're going to see this a couple times in the trailer. Like I pointed out before, my face is kind of in the way, but let me move myself real fast so you guys can see. So if we look here, nope. This one? There you go. If you look behind my head there, you see Philip. Philip he has a staff and he's actually hurt. Like he's actually injured. We saw this in the behind the scenes as well when Andrew was wrapping up his foot and cleaning up some blood from his foot. So he hurts himself somewhere along their journey back to the Decapolis with their new friend who we're going to talk about in this episode in a second. But we see as John and Simon here are having a moment, but not only are they having a moment here, it seems like they're going to take off and they go for a walk, which we heard about in the behind the scenes as well from Dallas. Let me go back here.
Simon.
Faith isn't my problem. I think I was a mistake.
Faith isn't my problem. I think I was a mistake, meaning Jesus choosing me. That's pretty crazy. So it's not that he's losing faith in Jesus necessarily, but it's more that he's lost faith in himself or his worthiness, maybe, to be a part of this group. That's really interesting. Now, in this shot right here, we see a ton of the disciples, and we see these different groups that are starting to approach Jesus. Now we also see that Thomas is back. I expect to see Thomas in episode 7. There's a couple things I want to see with him, because we've seen some behind the scenes where he seems kind of angry. So maybe it didn't go that well with Rhema. I'm not sure. It could go either way there for me, because Kathni was pretty like harsh earlier on, and there's been some rumors behind the scenes that Rhema's not coming back. So I don't know if that's actually true or not. But we do see Thomas here for sure.
What have we here?
My friends.
So we see those 3 different groups. We see this group. Come on. We see this group here with the guy with the tall hat.
My friend.
Then we see this group here. I don't know if this is like Hellenistic Jews maybe. Or they're just regular Jews that are from the Decapolis. But I imagine there's going to be these 3 different groups, right? We have like maybe Syrophoenicians, maybe we have Jews, maybe we have I don't know, just different groups that are here. Like what's his name? I wrote it down. Leander. Like Leander talked about, the guy who I originally thought was Matthias, but ended up not being, right? But we see these 2 groups.
You seem upset.
And then we see one more group here in a second. We also see someone that's with Jesus here, but I'm not sure who that is. Some people were saying that it looks like Melech, but I don't think that's Melech. Now here we see Nishan. We saw him in the behind the scenes. He was in the Chosen's YouTube videos. They actually named him in the YouTube videos. They said that he's an antagonist of Jesus and he's a healer from the Decapolis. And he's kind of been losing business and stuff because people are not going to him because they're getting healed by Jesus, etc. Like the disciples are going and healing different people. So he is actually an antagonist, and he's the one that tells Shmuel where Jesus is, actually. So yeah, we know a little bit about him, but we don't know too much yet. I thought we would see him way earlier in this season, but we do see a scene with him in Atticus. We see a scene with him in the disciples and Jesus here, and we also see a scene with him and Shmuel later on.
Want to dilute our faith?
Take your
You want to dilute our faith. Here we see a weapon being grabbed.
followers back west,
Again, that same group with this guy right here.
where you belong.
We didn't come here to...
And again, we see Philip is hurt here. So there's something that happened there. I'm not sure if it's like a huge deal or if it's just going to be part of this episode. Maybe it's a way for him to relate to little James. I don't know.
Cause trouble.
While it would appear that
But we see them coming in. This is probably them arriving to the Decapolis or arriving to the Feeding the 5,000. One of the two.
trouble has found us.
What
And
is
the Feeding the
stirring in your...
5,000. During that scene there, if you catch it, again, we're looking at every little frame, right? If we look right, can you see my mouse? Yeah. If you look right here, this is Nishan, and he's riding away from the Feeding of the 5,000. So we actually saw that in the original season 3 trailer as well. So if we go back, I'll just go back.
I'm here to cause trouble.
While it would appear that
We can see
trouble
him
has found
riding
us.
away in the background
What
there.
is
That's
stirring in your-
Nishan. And then here we see Jesus at the Feeding of the 5,000. This is showing that it's actually going over a large period of time because it's not just during the day, but it's also during the night. So the Feeding of the 5,000 could have taken, this long. Could have been many days. It could have been at least over a couple of days.
hearts in the midst.
And you see that shot right there, one of the most beautiful shots. I have some behind the scenes footage from when we were there at the Feeding of the 5,000, seeing all of this. This was one of the most amazing nights ever. Being part of the filming here was so cool. Being able to see everybody and see the actors and just being able to be part of this moment was amazing. I was sitting right behind the screen basically that showed this view from the camera, and it looked just like this, just perfect out of camera, like amazing. Really cool.
Middle of such division.
Now here we see an interesting sight. We see what looks to be some sort of leader, right? And we see Leander. So Leander is going to be another bigger part of the story. And it looks like this guy is coming, against him here.
Division and unrest.
And then we see Shmuel, who is again looks like this is in that same realm, maybe at the Feeding the 5,000. Now remember, the very opening scene of the trailer for season 3 was Shmuel talking to Jesus, and that is most likely at the Feeding the 5,000 now because we've kind of eliminated everything else.
Is Father God being revealed?
Again, we saw this in the trailer. This is Eden while she's in a mikveh, which is a cleansing pool. right? So she's jumping into, yes, I'm sure that's not Atticus riding away because he has that baby blue shirt. It might be hard to see on my screen when you're watching this, but you can go back and watch. It's definitely Nishan because we saw him in the trailer for season 3 in that same shot as well. It was a little bit longer in the trailer. But here's Eden. I thought this was going to be after her miscarriage. She would be cleansing in the mikveh, but it seems like that's not the case. Seems like she's just cleansing like she normally would, being a Jewish woman. So she is cleansing here in a mikveh. This is obviously going to be an emotional moment for her for some reason. But we'll get more into that as we keep on going. The interesting thing is I don't think we'll see much of Simon and Eden together as we kind of go through the rest of this season. I think we'll get maybe a couple more scenes with them together because there is one moment that I'm looking for in particular where the two of them kind of come together and they kind of reunite and they kiss and stuff. We see that in the trailer, which again we'll probably break down later this week to give some more understanding of what's going on there. But we do see this scene here with her in the mikveh. Now this we know is during episode 8. Simon and John, they kind of go off and they go on a long walk is what Dallas said. He said that in one of the behind the scenes that they did on their YouTube channel and on their Instagram. I think it was Instagram Live maybe. A long time ago during filming. He said that this scene in particular was in episode 8 in the season finale. And so we see John kind of consoling Simon here.
To me, all who labor.
And he's obviously like, he's hurting, right? Like he's obviously not doing super well. I mean, hard stuff, right? For him, like he is, he's in a rough spot right now where he wasn't there to help his wife and he feels like he's failed as a husband. He's failed as a protector. He's failed as a disciple, right? And so he's really struggling. He's really struggling with that. I'm unfamiliar with Leander other than when he appeared in this episode. Was he in a previous episode? No. Well, yes, he was for like a brief second. In episode 2, episode 4, where they went out on the 2x2, right? That was episode 4. Yes. Episode 4, when they went out on the 2x2, we see Andrew and Philip. And Leander is one of the people that helped to kick them out of the town that they were in. So yes, we have seen Leander before, but just very briefly. Let me clear that.
And our heavy
now this guy we know is going to be healed because we saw him break this crutch that he has. He breaks it over his knee in the trailer for season 3. So we know that he's going to be healed, and maybe this is the catalyst for people to actually start listening to Jesus. Because remember, these other groups are coming and they're like attacking him. This may also be the catalyst for Nishan kind of going off on Jesus and yelling at him a bit. It could be either one of those two, but we see obviously the disciples and Jesus here, and this man is approaching, and then he's going to be healed because we saw that in the trailer. And here are the 3 different groups that we can see. We can see on the far left is the group that looks like it's from the city that Andrew and Philip were in. And over to the right, we see what look to be the more Jewish people. Let me move my head again. My head is in the way again. Let me move my frame here. Which one am I? This one. All right, let me move it up here. And I'll just be out of the way for right now. So if we look down here, right, this group is the one that this main guy was with Leander, who is right here, by the way, in the center of the frame. This is Leander. And he is originally from this town. I think they called it Nain, was the name of the city. I have to go back and listen to it. But this is like the main guy that... No, it's not. It's a different guy. Let me think. Yeah, it's a different guy. I'm getting them mixed up. But there's these 3 different groups, right, which are associated with 3 different people groups, okay? So I'm not exactly sure what they are, but they could be a lot of different things. They could be Syrophoenicians. They could be Hellenists. They could be just regular Jews. There could be a bunch of different stuff. But there's this group over here to the left, this group right in front of the disciples, this woman. Let me see if I can zoom in. I think I did this before and I messed everything up. So let's see if it happens. Let's see. That helped a little bit. Let me keep on zooming in. All right, so this woman right here is like the lead of that group, looks like, and Jesus is there obviously talking. Now stick around because I have a really big point about this frame right here that I want to talk about. Okay, so we have this woman, and then we have this group over here, and then we see a large group kind of coming in behind them, filling up the rest of it. This is the beginning of the feeding of the 5,000, okay? So who do we see in this scene? First of all, we see an agitated Simon. Simon is very agitated. He's on his tippy toes. He's like sitting there. He is like not wanting to be here. He is not excited to be here, right? He looks sad. He looks angry. That's definitely one point, right? We see Thomas here. Now I don't see Andrew and Philip. So I think in that scene where they're coming over the hill is actually them coming to the feeding of the 5,000. Possibly they might be here, but I don't see them at the moment. So they might be hidden behind some other disciples. Now we see, Leander here as well in that yellow, that same shirt he was wearing earlier. Now next to him, who do we see sitting there? Has anybody noticed it yet? Anybody notice this character right here? Can anybody name who that character might be? No? Yes? Maybe? Anybody? John the Baptist's disciples? No. Close. The what? The what? What's this one say? Let's see. The boy? What boy? Okay, there we go. Someone's got it. So the boy with loaves and fishes, right? This is the boy. This has to be the boy, right? We see him with a basket sitting in front of Jesus at the beginning of the feeding of the 5,000. Of course, right? So we see this starting to take shape here a little bit. Let me move this back down. So this is the right place. Yeah, so we get a lot from this one frame right here. There's a lot of stuff going on. So this is the beginning of the feeding of the 5,000. Super
I will
interesting.
give you rest.
Without the food.
Now here we finally see more of the disciples together. They're kind of getting ready. Nathanael says we're out of food. And of course, this is the beginning of the feeding of the 5,000 when everything's kind of happening here.
They're out of food. Can you bring me anything?
And can you bring me anything? Opens the basket. Of course, the loaves and fish.
5 loaves of bread.
And 2 fish. This feels familiar.
Let's eat.
And there's all the people from the feeding of the 5,000. You have kind of like the main characters out in front and then the rest of them behind. And that's the end of this trailer. Man, there's so much in that for sure. There's so much that went into that. A ton of stuff that's coming up. Hey, if you like this short part of our live stream, you can check out the full 5-hour live stream over on our Patreon at patreon.com/thesnipelife. This is literally the best way that you can help to support our ministry, and it really means a ton to us. You can contact us anytime through the chat on there, and you too could be like these amazing people that just joined our Patreon over the last few weeks. Thank you so much to all you amazing people, and thank you for supporting our ministry and what God has asked us to do.